Hey everyone, this is the first episode of the DC Focus podcast here at the Hybrid Network. So we're all pretty excited to get talking about anything in the world of DC news and comics and entertainment. And I've got a few guests along with me, so why don't you guys just introduce yourselves here?
Hi, my name is CJ. I have never done this YouTube thing before, so I'm really excited to be on this podcast. Thanks for the opportunity.
My name is Jeff. No, my name is Josh.
He's
none of you
also
probably
never
know who I
done
am.
this.
I'm very new to this whole thing.
What is Hybrid Network?
What's a
Yeah,
hybrid?
Yeah.
I'm Luke. I'm a veteran at this sort of thing. I've got so many podcasts underneath my belt.
Award.
I think Luke.
He's just oozing podcasts.
I'm just oozing it out of every pore.
You should get that checked out. They make creams and salves for it.
They make.
Wait, so you tell me that spray isn't going to work?
What?
Tell me the spray
No.
bot's not going to work?
Yeah, so we've got a pretty interesting lineup of topics here to go into. So we're going to start off with the top five here. It's going to be breaking down the biggest issues that came out this week in DC Comics. So starting off with number 5 here, we've got the brand new Batman Beyond #1, and this is by Dan Jurgens, I believe, and Bernard Chang. So what did you guys think of the first issue?
Well, I'm gonna defer to Josh because he's got a lot of thoughts.
All right, so yeah, as of when we're recording this, like 30 minutes ago, I just finished my review on the website, hybridnetworkyt.com plugin. Anyways, so honestly, it was a decent first issue. Like, I like the new twist on Batman Beyond they're doing with Tim Drake. I'm a big Tim Drake fan anyways, but I mean, like, I like the new, like, twist they're doing with Tim Drake instead of Terry because it really gives them a, it makes a whole new, like, fresh landscape for Batman Beyond. Like, they're basically reinventing the whole mythology of Batman Beyond. And also, I love Neo Gotham. I always love that kind of style and everything. That's present in the book, which is nice to see. And, the cliffhanger in the book, I'm not going to spoil it, but that's pretty cool too if you're a Bat Family fan. Even though this book did have its flaws, first and foremost, you really need to know Future's End to really get into this book. This book, even though it's called Batman Beyond, it feels more like Future's End 2.0, which is kind of deterring as it's a #1. And also, there's really no bridge for Batman Beyond animated series fans or fans of like the previous comics written by Kyle Higgins, I believe, because the cover has Batman Beyond, and it also has like the Justice League Beyond behind it, but then they're nowhere to be seen whatsoever. So it's like they're trying to bring in the animated series fans, but it's nothing like the animated series. So
They're honeypotting us.
yeah, and there's no bridge there in between, what they're trying to do and what's been done before either. So it's really like you're more or less probably just gonna piss off the animated series fans if they go check it out. So I mean, like, and that's just a general like kind of overview of like my pros and cons for it. But like for the most part, it's a #1. So like obviously you kind of have to wait to see what they're gonna do with it. But for a first issue, if I wasn't a Batman Beyond fan, I probably would just, I'd read it and I'd probably just,
I
drop
think
it.
the reason it's so big is that it's such a big change to the character, like such a hugely popular character, to bring Tim Drake in there, and then especially what they're doing to like Neo Gotham,
Right.
And for better or worse, Future's End 2.0 is a pretty big change for it, but so it's
Probably a change for the worse, to be honest. But
Yeah,
whether it's a good or bad issue, it is a big issue, I guess, and that's the whole point of the top 5.
Yeah, like they kind of put themselves in a hole when like they still have Brother Eye around, and Brother Eye basically destroys like everything but Gotham. So you're kind of just like, the hell, like what are you gonna do after you wrap up the Brother Eye story? Assuming they actually are gonna wrap that up, hopefully.
yeah, apparently what Bernard Chang and Dan Jurgens have said is that they've got like all kinds of world building stuff planned. So I don't know honestly what's gonna happen with that. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of disappointing though to see this character's like solo book spawned off of Future's End, because honestly that wasn't a great book at all. So
Right.
Yeah, I stopped
wasn't really
reading
that great.
Future's End after a while because it just kind of dragged on.
Yeah, big props to Joel out of the Comic Book Cast for like reviewing every issue of it. I don't know how he did it.
I know he took shots after it.
I know we were
He's a
joking.
trooper.
We were joking that if you like took the first 5 seconds of every review that he did, you could just watch him grow more disillusioned over time.
Life drained from him.
But I digress.
Yeah. No, but I hope Terry comes back in some capacity. Like, I know he's considered dead, but I mean, like,
DED, R.I.P. and peace.
when
Terry.
is a character really ever left dead?
Got to pour out some of my 40.
Yeah, so moving on though with the next book that was pretty big this week was Green Lantern 41, which is a pretty bold new direction for the character. This is the start of the Renegade storyline, as far as I know, for Hal Jordan.
Yep.
So he's kind of the universe's most wanted man now at this point. So what did you guys think of Green Lantern 41?
CJ, you want to go first?
Can I jump in real quick?
Because you reviewed it. So
I wrote the review. I did the video review, and I told way too many like Han Solo like puns. Because I was joking. Because essentially,
did he shoot first?
What I should have made that one, and I'm sad that I didn't now. But he's essentially Hal Jordan is now Han Solo. He's got his own ship. I mean, Han Solo didn't have like a wisecracking AI, but I mean, he's got a ship. I mean, he's running around in the seedy places of the galaxy. And they've even, like, the big twist, and I don't care about spoiling this, but if you don't want to listen to it, just, close your ears, do the whole la 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 thing for a few seconds. When they go back to, I guess, what is Mogo, because Oa's been destroyed for a while, Mogo's destroyed and all the Green Lanterns are gone. So, even though he doesn't have like a ring of power anymore, Hal's pretty much like the last of the Green Lanterns while all the Green Lanterns are kind of disappeared. And I mean, the only real big negative here was the fact that if you were looking at, I think it's called Green Lantern Lost Army #1, if you read the preview for that, it spoiled the twist a little bit, mainly because you suddenly, were very aware of the fact that the Green Lanterns are gone, something's happened to the central power battery. Although it's not until you read this issue you found out that it was actually the planet's completely destroyed and all of them have disappeared or are dead. Other than that, it was really, really solid. I actually like the new direction for the character. Hal's always been kind of the cocky, brash. I mean, he was a pilot, so he's like towing the Han Solo line, but now he just completely went across it all the way over there. And
it looks like his new costume looks like he's going full 90s too.
Yeah, he's got like an overcoat, and he almost like his haircut is very like Bucky from Winter Soldier. That's almost the best way to describe it. But it's really fun. It's not like, it's got a little bit of a gritty, seedy edge to it, but it's still got fun. He's still Hal. He's witty. But I mean, with this new glove that he has, and I joked that he was Michael Jacksoning it because he's got like one glove on, but in place of the Ring of Power, it's like super powerful, and it's really interesting to have him. It almost goes back to like the days when he first was a Green Lantern, because he's just learning to control the glove's powers.
Right.
But it's cool new look for the character.
I'm glad you liked it.
You didn't?
I liked the issue, but I don't like the direction they're going, because it. Now, I said this in a review I did, like, way back when, that's now deleted. But, I mean, honestly, with the Green Lantern series, I was really expecting more. Like, from them to do something, more progressive with the character. And I don't mean progressive in, like, an LGBT kind of way or anything like that, but I mean, like, Hal Jordan's in a position where he was, like, the Green Lantern Corps has a bad rap at the moment with, a lot of planets and stuff like that in the galaxy.
Oh, you're upset about Green Lantern 40.
So this is following that. But I mean, like, Hal Jordan's answer to that was, all right, I will run away and I will make myself look like the bad guy, escaping like some crime I did against the Green Lantern Corps, like as if there was some sort of like scandal or something like that. He was like, I will like go away and stuff, and you could point it at me, you could put the blame on me, and I'll go away. That's the same exact thing. Yeah, Akon. It's the same exact thing he did in Justice League, and I hate that, because I'm like, you're the leader of the Green Lantern Corps. Instead of running away and being a little bitch, you should have went on like the equivalent of a goodwill tour across the galaxy, which would have been cool to see for the reader too, because we could see more of the planets that incorporates the different sectors the Green Lantern Corps has and things like that. But no, instead we're getting like Renegade Green Lantern, which I'll run with because they're doing it. But I mean, like, just I'm not a fan of the direction. I feel like there was a better direction they could have gone.
Yeah, it kind of sucks too, because it feels like Hal's never gotten a chance to just kind of relax. Like, he's always kind of on the run. He's always being blamed for doing something wrong. So
yeah, I mean,
Hal, you fused with an interdimensional fear entity. Why?
I mean, like he deserves like some time to decide, get some like fresh air. Like, that's something else I harped on when I was reviewing Green Lantern a while back. I was saying, like, you know, this series so far, like, I'm enjoying it, but I mean, like, it's just massive event after massive event after massive event. Like, every single storyline the Green Lanterns were having back to back to back ended up crossing with, you know, the other Lantern books and stuff like that, which I don't mind as much because obviously they're in the same galaxy and stuff like that. But I mean, like, there has to come to a time where, you know, you just have some fresh air, like, you know, just breathe a little.
Yeah, he probably thought that was a Nintendo Power Glove he was putting on his hand to relax, and it ends up having all these Green Lantern powers.
Oh,
actually,
shit.
did you guys read Green Lantern 40 or like the past few issues?
When he steals it?
Because I mean, like, it's really heartbreaking because, like, Kilowog, like, because he basically tells Kilowog ahead of time, like, I'm gonna do this, and Kilowog's like, you don't need to do this, like, that's kind of stupid.
Gooba, please.
Kilowog's basically me in this scenario. Like, I'm like, this is kind of stupid, you don't have to do this. And he and Kilowog get into a fight and everything. And it's like, it's less of like a me versus you fight, like they're mad at each other, and more so like Kilowog is trying to keep him from leaving and stuff like that, and, like, you know, wants him to stay, and, you know, wants him to do it a different way. And it's just really hard. Like, that whole fight scene was just, it was heartbreaking. I mean, like, the way it was written, the way it was choreographed, and, like, the ending of it and stuff. Oh man, it was just, because they make it look like they're hugging at the end, because, like, Hal knocks out Kilowog, but he's, like, holding Kilowog up while he's, like, sitting him down, and it looks like they're hugging, and it's just it's a good moment. Like, if you know their character, like, history between the two, like the friendship between the two, it's a really nice moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess moving on from characters who are
Green Lantern enough.
Yeah, moving on from characters who are like big jerks, let's go to a character that's getting a more fun direction, I guess, with Superman in Action Comics. And this is the start of the Truth storyline, where Superman has basically lost most of his powers. He's down on his luck. He's unemployed now, and he's kind of an everyman. So I guess, what did you guys think of the new direction for Superman?
I must confess that I have not read it, so I will defer to you guys.
Ooh, okay.
Neither have I.
Let them go first.
I enjoyed it.
I want to hear what they got to say.
I've been reading Action Comics since, you know, Grant Morrison started with #1 with the New 52.
Guess not.
Been reading Superman. Also, you know, I took a break during the last story arc when Scott Lobdell, well, not the last story, but the story arc before that, when Scott Lobdell got on, because it kind of started getting ridiculous and everything like that, because, you know, Scott Lobdell. But I mean, for the most part, I really enjoyed it. I wish they would clarify exactly what powers he has left. Like, I'm totally fine with, like, it looks like it's just strength, leaping, and I guess durability. But it'd be pretty cool if maybe he had heat vision too, like maybe not X-ray vision, but, you know, at least like heat vision or something like that. But they haven't really explained how he lost his powers. It's kind of hinted at that it's because of, like, how many times he used his kind of explosion ability, so to speak. But honestly, it's a really good jumping on point, and as much as it is fun, the ending of this issue takes a pretty dark turn. It
definitely does.
Pretty bad. I'm not gonna spoil what happens, but
it almost feels like reading 1940s Superman power level set, because he's kind of got, like, those baseline powers, but not everything yet.
Yeah. Well, one thing that got me was, like, we start this issue off, and he's like, I can't leap tall buildings in a single bound anymore, which is why he gets this motorcycle and anything like that. And I'm glad they, like, you know, kind of gave a reason for the motorcycle. But then he goes to Metropolis and he leaps a tall building in a single bound. So I'm like, all right, so can you leap or can you not leap?
Well, I think part of the thing is it seems like he's still figuring it out for himself.
Was he not confident?
Right.
So, Luke, what did you think about it?
Oh, I didn't read it. But
High five!
That won't stop me from giving a review. No, I was meaning to read it, but I just kind of got sidetracked a little bit. But it was one of the ones that was kind of on my top picks to read, because kind of like what Nick said, it looks like they're going back to sort of a 1940s Superman style where he's not really fully powered up. The only difference being now everybody knows Clark Kent is Superman. So it was just a really cool twist, and I'm glad to hear that it's pretty fun until the end where it gets dark.
Yeah, it is cool to see him embracing that, you know, everyone knows his identity. Obviously it wasn't under he probably didn't want that to happen, but it's kind of cool to see him actually embrace it and, like, be friendly with people and stuff like that, and people will be friendly with him too. So
yeah, Lois is an asshole. they still haven't explained why she like. I know she was like the
Oh.
world deserves to know or something.
You said
like,
Lois
crap like
is. I
that.
thought you said Lois has an asshole. And I was like, don't we all?
like,
I mean,
every
no,
every
she
one of
is.
us except for Kim Jong Un.
I mean, like she
Like,
really is like she had no right to just like, basically just share his secret identity. With
Actually,
everyone
Josh,
like
it's
that.
about ethics and superhero journalism.
It's
Yeah.
horseshit,
We don't.
horseshit.
We don't know the full story yet. Don't talk
Exactly.
about my woman like that.
But no, the person we have on the website reviewing Action Comics and Superman, named Larry, he gave it a 9.1, and this was his first Superman comic ever reading. So he
Wow.
really enjoyed it, and obviously this was a great comic for him to read as his first one because it's a fresh
Jumping on point. Yeah. There you
Yeah.
go.
But
Definitely.
he really enjoyed it, so I'm sure a lot of other people similarly followed suit.
Yeah, so moving on though with the next comic that we have on the list is probably something that was flying under the radar for a lot of people, but it was pleasantly surprised within Midnighter #1, which spawned off the Grayson series. That's been a pretty big smash hit over the past year now. So what do you guys think of Midnighter?
I am probably the world's biggest Grayson fan.
gonna
Like
cream
both
now or
as the
later?
character and of the book. I love like the work that Tom King and Tim Seeley are doing on that. And so I was really excited when they announced like a Midnighter series. Although I was also excited for Omega Man #1, which is Tom King's book. But Midnighter, I've got a lot of respect for the way that they wrote Midnighter. I mean, he came out of that. I think it's the Wildstorm imprint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, the big thing for a while is he was invented, at a time almost solely as a gay character. I mean, that was the big thing back when he was created. He and Apollo were these gay superheroes that were crime fighting partners, but also lovers, and that was kind of a big deal. And over time, we've seen a lot of characters like Bunker from Teen Titans in the Scott Lobdell run, who are like they're essentially defined by their sexuality. It's not just a component of the character. That is essentially they exist to be a gay hero. And that's one of the things that I really loved about Grayson, and further that I loved about this issue, although it had some pretty intense moments that for people that don't agree with homosexuality, they might have taken a minute there. But he's not a character that's defined by his homosexuality. It's very subtle. It's just like like Josh or Superman isn't defined by his love for Lois Lane. He's defined by a lot of other things. I was going to say Josh isn't defined by his love for Cliff Bars, but it's a very subtle part of his character in the Grayson run. It's a very subtle part of his character in this run. Not that it has to be. It's just that's the best way to write it. I mean, it's the best way to not really exploit the fact that he's gay for viewership, and rather just write a good character and write a good story. And beyond that, he's just a complete fucking badass in this book.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely great. I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah. So anyone else get to check out Midnighter? Or?
Yeah,
I did.
I got to read it. I'll give really brief thoughts on it. So I thought it was great. I loved how Midnighter, he definitely kicked ass. He kicked ass both ways.
I was gonna say chewed names and took
But
over them, but
I also
that's
liked how he talked a lot of shit, and I mean like he did it so cockily too, because he obviously he has these enhancements, so he's like precog. But honestly, I really enjoyed it because I felt like the writer, who from what I understand doesn't have a lot of experience writing comics whatsoever, I feel like he just had a blast with this, and he really used the fact that Midnighter may not be the most well-known property. And one thing I just thought was hilarious, though, is the fact that Midnighter was like hooking up with people and then making them assets through hooking up with them. And he had like 337 assets. So we know our boy's busy.
yeah.
It's I really liked it. It's I had never even heard of Midnighter. I think before Grayson, when he appeared in Grayson, and when I read up on it, it was just he had this really cool history. So I checked out issue #1, and like kind of CJ Josh said, it's just fantastic. It's the violence. First of all, he's a very violent character, like super ultra violent, and the way they handle the violence is just like awesome. It's like the same. It's to the same credit of those Mortal Kombat X-ray moves. It's just phenomenal, and on top of that, they actually managed to write a gay character well, which I'm very happy about because people don't seem to be able to have that talent these days.
Yep.
But it's I would say it's a really cool jumping on issue for anyone who's not a fan, or not really not a fan, just they didn't know about this character. It's a nice way to get introduced to his world. And I just love the idea that he's a smart talker in combat, but he's different because it's like he's demasculating these people while he's like trash talking them. It's not like harmless banter. It's like he's literally telling these guys, "You're a piece of shit. You're worthless. I'm better than you."
He doesn't just like talk shit. He actually like backs it up. And like the best way to like describe him, I think, is he's just aggressive in general. Like everything that he does in this issue really kind of provided evidence for that. But I mean, I agree with you completely. It was in my opinion, of the jumping on issues, all the number 1s and 41s, I think this might have been the best to me of the ones I've read so far, just in terms of introducing to a character for new readers. But
right.
I just something I thought I would throw out there. After reading, I mean, like in regards to what you said about writing gay character and stuff like that. Honestly, I think the key to writing a really good gay character is you just write a good character, and he just happens to like the same sex.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, like unless you want to make him super flamboyant, but I mean, like not all gay people are super flamboyant.
Right.
Like,
and Midnighter certainly isn't flamboyant at all.
I mean, like I'm sure if you were to call like Midnighter a fruit salad, he would shove your head up a fruit salad.
He'd make a salad out of your entrails.
I mean, like I'm not saying that your blood will be used as vinegar, but it surely won't be used for the olive oil.
Yeah. So counting down though, the biggest book this week is obviously no surprise. It's the starting point of the Darkseid Wars storyline, which is going to be the biggest event in Justice League this summer, and obviously this is Justice League 41 we're talking about here. So just initial thoughts. What do you guys think of this issue here?
It was probably one of the best opening like part 1 issues I've read for honestly a Justice League book in a long time. Like it started up really well. I liked kind of like the Wonder Woman point of view thing they had with each character. I thought that was really cool, even though they kind of didn't have one for like Shazam, Cyborg, or Flash, which was kind of odd. I thought it would have been nice to have those too. I mean, like, but they at least hit they hit members, and the way they did it was really nice. Honestly, one thing I really enjoyed that I feel like most people may overlook is how Grail, who's Darkseid's daughter, she used the Flash due to his connection to the Speed Force as a boom tube essentially, and I thought that was really cool because with the DC screenplays I've made, I did the exact same thing. I connected the Speed Force with the boom tubes because of obviously how both can be used to travel basically across universes and all that stuff. So I thought that was really cool because a lot of people overlook the fact that the Speed Force practically like is one thing that holds it's in the whole multiverse. So I mean, like, I thought that was a pretty interesting and unique and just a cool nod to the Speed Force in its own way. But yeah, like Jeff Johns, man, I think he just wrote a good book. My only thing at this point is how long do I have to wait until I see Batgod?
Next issue, maybe. I think it's the cover of 43 or 42. I don't know.
Also,
it's coming though.
Superman is officially put into bitch status because he fights He-Man. He-Man stabs him through the chest. He turns into dust. Shazam gets stabbed through the back and chest by Grail. Shoots some lightning out. A few panels later, he's good to go.
That's Shazam.
Yeah, so Luke, what did you think of Justice League 41?
Some Superman fans can kill me.
Honestly, I thought it was really cool. It's a nice little introduction to what I think overall is going to be probably one of my favorite stories coming from DC's new relaunch. I should probably preface this right away just by saying, huge New Gods fan. I love the New Gods, and I just love the stories behind them. I love that this comic opens up with Mr. Miracle kind of in his sort of sneaking back into Apocalypse, his confrontation with Darkseid. It's just like all these little inter-family stuff with the different new gods and the different sort of relationships and royal families. It was just really cool. And just seeing Grail, this new character coming into the light, she's already won my heart. She's awesome. She beats up the Justice League the minute she shows up. Like, she owns them, all of them. And
every villain owns the Justice League at first meetup. That's a tradition.
Right. Okay, but to be fair, Grail just looks cool. I think Grail looks cool, so she gets a edge up for me. All right. But she's rocking that buzz cut. But
let's say, like, Luke, I know that hair is what you're talking about.
That side cut. Yeah.
That side cut. That's what I meant. Side cut. My bad. But yeah, overall, like, Jeff Johns, he's pretty much, he's starting off strong. Hopefully it stays this strength. One of the biggest complaints I always have with these stories is that they start off great with, like, same thing with Convergence. It started off in the slow burn, then it kind of went downhill. I'm really hoping Darkseid War doesn't go the same way.
Did anyone else get sad reading this?
No.
Knowing that this may be the last Justice League story arc that we'll see this Justice League team and / or them in their good costumes. Wonder Woman wink. Nudge.
No, this is one of those story trumps continuity cases where I think Jeff Johns will be able to say, like, well, I want to tell my story, so
he gave the finger to Snyder.
Yeah, now that we kind of have wrapped up, I guess, kind of the top 5, like, I just want to say, like, even through 1 week, what Dan Didio was talking about when he says story trumps continuity is just, like, on full display. Full display, 100%.
Yeah, definitely with Bizarro, too.
Yeah, Bizarro is a good example of that. Omega Man and Midnighter, I would say, are maybe, like, lesser examples of just good stories kind of just existing out there in the universe, not necessarily playing a bigger part. But, I mean, you know, I think I've read, you know, more good comics this week just from DC than I have in a long time. I really enjoyed this week.
They brought their A game, which was nice to see.
Yeah.
We're going to see more of the whole story trumps continuity next week, too, with the new direction Batman's going, Detective, Superman, all those kind of books. They're pretty big books coming out next week, so we'll see how they all shake out.
I'm excited for Batman. Preemptively, I think we might have to say that's gonna be #1 on the top 5 next week.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's quite poetic. Snyder's like, Batman gets killed fighting a lunatic clown.
Yeah.
Johns is like, no, he becomes a god.
Yeah. So one quick note too on Justice League is I really love Jason Fabok's art. Ever since he came on board as artist, I think he's just been knocking out of the park on that book.
I really like his Wonder Woman. I like the design he did because supposedly, like, that's something that Johns really liked, and one reason why I guess he's on the book, because of just, like, I guess a year or so ago, something like that, when they were doing some minor redesigns, he submitted a design for Wonder Woman. And at first, I mean, like, at the time they turned it down, but John saw it and he really liked it. So, like, when he got him on Justice League, he was like, do that design that you did.
Yeah, this Wonder Woman's probably my favorite character out of the whole Justice League right now.
Which is why I'm going to miss that design when the post-convergence outfits hit. God help me, it's a horrible outfit. They should have just given her
pants.
It
is not horrible.
I actually do like her new new outfit. I think it looks...
You like her Uniclaw?
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to call it.
I think that's my only complaint with it. Those, like, claw things.
What if
but
she
other than
tries
that, I
shaking
think it's
someone's
fine.
hand or fist bumping them? She's just going to,
you
stab
don't
someone.
try to shake Wonder Woman's hand.
You get
Word
shanked.
to the wise. Don't do it.
It's not advised.
All right, Nick.
So we should probably switch gears here, though, over to the cinematic universe of DC, which pretty big story came out this week. That we got confirmation that the Conjuring director, James Cameron from he's doing Aquaman, guys.
Entourage
with Vince.
But Furious 7 director and Conjuring director James Wan is going to helm the Aquaman feature film. So what do you guys think about that news?
I'm
excited.
I'm intrigued. They had my curiosity. Now they have my attention. I'm not a huge horror fan myself. I don't care for it, but I know a lot of people that are, and pound for pound, when they tell me something's a good horror movie, James Wan is behind a lot of them. But even just the fact that his horror background is what kind of surprises me. Although, Nick, you mentioned earlier the writers for it, or the writer for it actually wrote both 300 films. So it's an interesting kind of pairing there.
Right, it's Kurt Johnson. He wrote both 300s and Act of Valor too. So yeah, it's pretty interesting there. But
I hope they keep the mythology. I hope they keep the whole Poseidon thing. Definitely, I mean, like the Trident. I hope they call it Trident of Poseidon. It sounds very much like it's going to be very Throne of Atlantis based, which I think, honestly, in regards to the modern day Aquaman, as most people know him, I think that's a very appropriate kind of first introduction to the character. But one worry I do have for this movie, which is the same worry I had for Thor, is in the case of Thor, at the time, that was the only Marvel movie that did not have to be restricted to Earth. And obviously you had all the 9 realms, stuff like that you can explore, but they kind of dropped the ball on that and decided they kept bringing it back to Earth. Probably because, obviously, Natalie Portman and all that supporting cast. But I mean, like, the same thing can apply to Aquaman. I really want them to stay underwater as much as they can. I really want them to focus on Atlantis, show us Atlantis, because every other hero will be above Earth. I mean, above the water. Every other hero will be surface world for the most part.
Right.
This is your only chance to show us, until like an Aquaman 2, really, the 7 seas. I really want them to utilize that. Like, obviously, I'm sure they'll have some flashbacks of Arthur as a kid, at the lighthouse, things like that. That's appropriate. He probably will come up, at some point. I'm sure they won't just leave him underwater the whole time, but I really want at least like 70% of the movie underwater. Like, it'll be different. It may be a challenge, but I feel like if they do it and they really dedicate themselves to it, it'll pay off. And it'll really help you feel that kind of Atlantean kind of.
This is just like my final thought on it is I'm really interested. Like, that's probably the one thing that I'm looking forward to more than anything in Aquaman, just kind of getting to the bottom of it, is what is Jason Momoa's Arthur Curry going to be like? Because right now it seems like he's going to be this badass barbarian Conan level warrior Aquaman, but what is his Arthur Curry going to be like? The one thing that I haven't quite managed to get to the bottom of.
If they do Arthur Curry, they might just ignore Arthur Curry and really just have him just be like Orin.
That would be a shame.
Well, maybe like they could kind of do it like Thor, where it's like after, he is Thor, he is Orin, but when he finally, after Justice League, when he finally decides that he wants to come on land, he, maybe he's Arthur Curry as his cover there, but I don't know.
Oh, that's right. Aquaman is after Justice League, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I had theorized, which is interesting, that this film is placed between both of the Justice League movies, so since they are going to adapt loosely the Throne of Atlantis storyline, maybe they could introduce the other Justice League characters into this film, like, possibly, but.
That'd be nice.
What do you guys think of the Wan choice?
I really quickly want to go over, actually, his... just aesthetically, Wan, he's a very good shot director. He has a good eye for shots. If you watch Furious 7 and his other independent film he did called Death Sentence, he's got a really good eye for interesting, unique shots. So I think that's really good for Aquaman. Also, since he's a good horror director, I think that horror and action kind of go hand in hand, and they've got like this type of escalation that builds up in the film, and I think that you can really see that in Furious 7. It's kind of this escalation of action going on, so I think that really lends to the that genre well. So yeah, I think he's a great choice.
I know we joked about James Cameron earlier, but due to obviously the filmmaking expertise of James Cameron, and also just obviously it was very infamous. James Cameron did that deep sea kind of exploration thing, because I guess it was rumored, or at least he said he wanted to do some sort of movie with the ocean, something like that.
Well, Titanic.
It would be, I mean, like beyond that, like.
I think it was Avatar, actually.
Yeah, I guess I guess it was to help him do research for like the future Avatar movies. But I mean, like, I think it'd be a really smart idea if you were to bring him on board as like a producer or in some sort of advisory role, just due to like the amount of knowledge he has.
Actual ocean master James Cameron.
Yeah, pun intended, I guess. But that being aside, one thing I really want to see, and I hope they do this because it'd be pretty cool, is obviously with the marine telepathy that Aquaman has, Especially like when he has a trident too. One thing they've always done is like he'll summon like a large creature or something like that. Like either like they'll do like the Kraken, some other fictitious monster, something like that. Like I think it'd be really cool if we were to see that in the movie.
Yeah, it'd kind of fit in with
power.
Right. It'd be interesting to see it too if they embrace the kind of like the horror aspect of like the deep sea region too, like the trench and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna make the same joke I did earlier. I can just see Andy Serkis from Age of Ultron go, cuttlefish. Cuttlefish.
Yeah.
They are freaking scary. I looked them up.
CJ, you're a cuttlefish.
But no, Luke, what were your thoughts on this?
Well, one was like an interesting choice. I'll go ahead and say this. I was interested in an Aquaman movie, and I guess Juan, kind of the same thing with you, CJ. Juan makes me a little bit more intrigued, makes me want to know a little bit more about what kind of movie they're going for with Aquaman. Because right now, just based on just his style of filmmaking and all that from Furious 7, I wouldn't be surprised if Aquaman would kind of at the heart of it be like Underwater 300, which I don't think I would really have a problem with, honestly. Just I like the idea of like these huge battles underwater for the sake of like surface dwellers, those surface dwellers.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I really just want to see character driven stuff in this. I'm not extremely familiar with Juan's work, but from what I've seen in the Furious movies, character development's kind of hard to come by. I don't want that to be like shafted in Aquaman, because the relationship between Arthur and Orm is like one of the greatest relationships in comics, I think.
I mean, I want one of two things out of this movie, and they're not mutually exclusive. I want like a Mighty Ducks 2 style water polo match to like settle everything, or I want Aquaman to just turn and pull a Kevin Spacey in House of Cards and just look at the camera and be like, "Fucking recycle, cut your 6-pack soda rings."
That'd be funny.
I will find you.
Speaking of Orm, obviously I'm sure this movie will get a lot of comparisons. Because Thor Loki relationship, Orm Thor relationship. I'm sure they're gonna get comparisons, but I hope when they do, it is a comparison in the form of I felt more between Orm and Arthur, Orm and Orin, Orm and Aquaman, whatever they're Ocean Master and Aquaman. Jeez, they have so many different names. God. I hope it's something like I felt more between them as brothers than Thor and Loki.
Right.
Because as great as the Thor Loki dynamic is and that relationship is, and the reason why I mention it is because of how similar and how easy it is. It'll be to compare them. But I mean, like, I hope they really make you feel like they're brothers.
yeah, and it's that way. It is very tragic when they have to go at odds.
Right.
But yeah, I guess the next topic here we have, following in the DC live-action trend, is Greg Silverman, who is I believe the president at Warner Brothers right now. Maybe he's stepping down. I think Kevin Suzihara is probably the new president. But yeah, Greg Silverman did talk about the DC film strategy, which is to bring aboard master filmmakers and hope that they can kind of collaborate with each other and kind of keep each other on the same page. But I think that their focus is more on the filmmaker, like behind the project. So that's kind of an interesting.
It's essentially like what Sujihara said is like the film version of Dan Didio's comments. Story trumps continuity.
Is that basically what every studio wants? We want great filmmakers to make good movies with our films.
It depends on what you want, because Marvel's got a plan. They've had a plan since day one, more or less.
And it gets harder for new filmmakers.
I mean, it gets harder because like you already see there's a struggle there because. You've got people like, to some degree, like James Gunn being like, I might not want to do this. You have the very clear, visible conflict with Edgar Wright that eventually causes a massive change in what the studio does with that movie. But so I wouldn't lie if I wouldn't lie and say that I wasn't worried, because I'm a little bit worried, but I think at the end of the day they're going to be all right. As long as they can string together a couple hits.
I also wanted to say too that Greg Silverman, another controversial thing that he said was that they're not making superhero movies; they're making movies about superheroes.
He must wear jorts.
A good distinction. Josh is like, that sounds like a man that also wears jorts. Because Josh wears jorts. You think that's an insult, but Josh wears jorts. That's a high sign of respect.
I've picked up girls with jorts. It's the ultimate sign of game spitting.
I don't think it was the jorts that picked up the girls, Josh.
It was me, exactly.
It's more like a handicap.
It's like having a handicap and still succeeding.
It's like you can only speak in like.
It's like
Japanese.
I had 2 broken legs and I still won the Olympic marathon.
Let's not go that far, but all right.
Oh.
But yeah, what do you guys think about the DC film strategy, that like the whole like they're not making superhero movies?
I think it's a good strategy, especially because DC seems to definitely want their films to take a more serious kind of feel to them, and not as much as a kind of comedic, comical, I guess comic booky, if that'd be an appropriate term. But I mean, like, it definitely seems like they want to make the type of film that obviously a comic book fan will be able to enjoy, but at the same time, a filmmaker would be able to be very proud of, and also maybe be like nominated for like an Oscar. Like, they want to make films, not just movies.
I think it speaks to the priorities. I think Marvel wants to make something that people are gonna enjoy first and foremost, and if it's a good film, that if it just turns out that it's a good film, then that just happens. But like, I think Winter Soldier is a pretty good example of that. I think they were like, we're gonna make this we're gonna make this a good story about Captain America. We're gonna put enjoyability pretty high up there, and it ended up being a pretty good film. I think DC's taken a different approach. I think it's ultimately gonna be a pretty successful one as long as they find the right tone, the right writing for their characters. I think one of the reasons why Man of Steel is so controversial is because it's not the Superman that people have come to know and love, and I think that's why that's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. I think objectively it's neither, but it just takes people some getting used to, and I think that's kind of what it struggled. It's you got to get people to buy into that idea, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they have to get audiences comfortable with the fact that they're going to change these characters to some extent.
And
so
the only way to do that is have a string of successful, a little string of success, a little run there. But
right.
Yeah, obviously it helps getting behind the new take on a character when the film is good. That definitely helps.
Yeah.
Another thing, honestly, is I really feel like with Warner Brothers, I hope they just don't try doing some very like super like multiple philosophical themes in one movie and trying to beat you on the head with it, because like. Between The Dark Knight Rises and Man of Steel, like they definitely had their fair share of that, and Dark Knight a little bit too, even though that was a great movie still, but great film still, I should say. But I mean, honestly, it sounds like their approach, it's more so like, I guess for Aquaman, I'll say, they're doing more like kind of the the royalty story, kind of like the king story that just happens to have Aquaman in it. Like Aquaman just happens to be like the royal character versus doing like an Aquaman film and then trying to conform it to things. Like the same thing, like Man of Steel was more, it felt like a sci-fi film that happened to have just happened, like Superman happened to be like that alien species, like Kryptonians.
Right.
Like it wasn't like from the get-go they're like, we're making a Superman movie like the comics. They're like, no, we're making a sci-fi film. And we're gonna embrace, I guess, the sci-fi aspect of Superman, and we're gonna use that. Kind of like how Captain America, it was very much like they were thinking we're making a political thriller, and it's just going to happen to have Captain America as a character in it. Like he's going to be our protagonist.
Yeah, it's interesting too because he says that the films that they're making they're going to be serious and intense, but also have humor, which is important to them. So I'm like, okay.
I mean, like all life has like natural humor. Like some people are just naturally comedic at times. So like,
yeah,
I would hope there's some humor. Like I don't want everybody to be like Drax or something like that. Like.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty cool move. It's a nice way to differentiate itself from what Marvel's doing. I've been loving the Marvel stuff. One of my biggest things so far is that it's becoming a hassle to kind of keep up with everything that Marvel's doing over there. It almost seems like you have to watch every single movie to kind of get an idea of what's going to be coming next. With what DC and Warner Brothers is saying, it sounds like we're going to have Justice League movies. This is all going to be connected, but at the same time, we want to focus on movies that kind of service certain characters, not so much the story of the whole universe moving forward, which I think is a pretty cool. I think it's a nice move to go for.
Yeah, so I guess the last topic here that we have for the DC cinematic stuff is the Suicide Squad set photos that came out today that featured Deadshot actually with his helmet on and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. What do you guys thoughts about Deadshot?
He has a helmet.
Yeah.
He's got a goggle.
Yeah, I'm a really big fan of the helmet goggle combination. Actually, the white is an interesting look for him, but I think what sold me on it was the purple lens. I think just the fact that he has a lens is pretty cool.
Right.
I really like the looks for pretty much everybody on the on the Suicide Squad. I think Deadshot was one of the ones I was really surprised by, because I was half expecting them to go with just more like, it's like, oh, he's just going to be a soldier. Maybe he'll have like cool goggles or something. But no, I think I'm really pleased with the degree to which they embraced the character. It seems, at least it seems like from the costume.
Yeah, that was very much Arrow's take on Deadshot, very much like the soldier with like the eyepiece.
Yeah.
Which wasn't bad per se. It worked for the show, but obviously like the movie, you can do a little bit more with it. I think it would be really funny if they had a scene where he takes off the mask and they're surprised he's black or something like that.
Yeah.
It'd be really funny. Kind of like a nice little like jab at like, some of the fans that were like freaking out Will Smith. But we got to think about this here, guys, and I'm being totally honest. So when we watch this movie and see Will Smith as Deadshot, when you leave the theater, you got to think to yourself, is this worth Jaden Smith being static?
Is this worth the high price?
Like, did he do a good enough job that you would sacrifice Static? Like, Static is the lamb on the altar here, guys.
I mean, we haven't seen Jaden Smith in a movie since he went crazy.
He did a short film.
But we haven't really seen anything, and I think part of it's like with Shia, it's like nobody really wants to like hire Shia right now,
but
because
he can act.
He's good.
Yeah, he's good. Like, I like everything that Shia has done, like, since Transformers 3, but like everything since that's been pretty great, from like Lawless to Fury. He was excellent in Fury. But I think it's just the stories get out from those sets that he's just become incredibly hard to work with, and he's like gone off the deep end.
He's super method.
Like, I feel like Jaden's the same way, but
well, I mean, like,
I'm pro Will Smith. I'm on the fence about Jaden Smith.
I'm definitely pro Will Smith, and honestly, if Jaden Smith, is actually like a good actor, ends up being a good actor, like, props out to Jaden. But I mean, like, just how it is right now in all the film, like, Pursuit of Happiness doesn't really count because he was a little kid, and all he really had to do is be a little kid, basically talking to his dad. Like, he didn't really have to act at all. But I mean, like, in all the roles he actually had to act in, especially like movies like After Earth, Karate Kid, he's always fell flat. Like, he's all the critics and even people that aren't critics in film, they've always said they were very much unimpressed with his acting ability. So I mean, like, he hasn't shown us he can act yet, which is something I hope he does. If he wants to have a career in acting, I hope he is able to develop that and stuff. But I mean, like, the reason why I mentioned that is because it doesn't really look like he earned the role, so to speak, when he has it, and it looks like it's one of those things where it's like he only has the role because his father is Deadshot,
and his mom was Fish Mooney.
His mom was Fish Mooney. Because it's been revealed before and said before that, like, Will actively tries putting his son in roles. Like, he, like, I forgot what movie it was, but he only agreed to it if Jaden was given a role in like a movie coming up.
So
right.
Oh no, I'm not gonna make that. Would be a terrible pun. You guys go ahead and give your thoughts on the Deadshot thing. I'm just gonna be quiet now. I'm too ashamed of myself for having come up with something that bad.
I really want to hear this.
I was gonna make a Static joke. Damn.
I was gonna make a something fishy pun, but
well, you kind of just did.
I know.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I'm surprised that something that usually insulates lightning, a piece of wood, got signed on to be Static Shock.
Oof.
Josh, the engineer, appreciated that.
Shots fired.
Oh, Man Steel commercial. Oh, never mind. Okay, keep going.
No, the Suicide Squad stuff was really... I'm liking the way Deadshot looks. He's very much different from the Arrow version. He looks like a character that exists in a world with superhumans, which I think is the one thing that I'm hoping the Suicide Squad movie does. It makes me believe that these are villains of superheroes, not just dudes that are cosplaying a character. Like we all saw Captain Boomerang on Arrow. We know how that went, but
It wasn't too bad.
but
it
for a
wasn't
TV
bad,
show.
but-
Like, come on.
the one
No,
thing.
well,
Go ahead.
well, Jai Courtney will be far superior. I mean, just look at his mutton chops. I mean,
We'll see. I'm
I'm
a little
sorry
on the
about
fence
that.
about his Kyle Reese right now, just from what I'm seeing from Terminator trailers. But I don't know. The
The
one
whole
thing
movie
with
looks
Will
fishy.
Smith that he has to capture for me right now is he needs swagger. Like that's the thing is like everybody. Deadshot's not just like a military man. Deadshot is he is confident in his abilities. Is like the best way to describe it. He is. And especially like one of my favorite examples of this is like one of my favorite Convergence tie-ins, the Suicide Squad tie-in, where because the dome took away everyone's powers, and it's like he and Captain Boomerang are now these like in-demand like murder for hire guys because none of the villains have powers, and so it's like they're the only people that can get anything done because they just have their skill, and they just like instantly kind of command that respect. They're like more or less fuck you, pay me. So, that's something that I want to see.
Yeah.
He's also big in Harley Quinn.
There you go.
Well, depending on what writer you're basing it off of, but I mean, like, he's definitely confident if he's doing that. The Joker finds out.
Joker's gonna kill him
that's
probably.
true.
yeah, it's interesting too. Will Smith did an interview with I think it Flicks in the City where he was talking about his character Deadshot, like the psychology of him, and he was saying like he's trying to get into character, like a lot about trying to understand Deadshot's like where he comes from because he's a guy that takes money to kill people like for a living. So, trying
So
to,
you're telling me right now Will Smith and Margot Robbie are probably in the same bed, which
tell Jada.
arguably they've
Yeah.
been
Don't tell
doing since
Jada.
Focus.
yeah. So he's trying to
Jada
get.
probably
It's
doesn't
such
mind.
interesting.
Have you seen Margot Robbie
Getting into character.
or Robbie?
Yeah.
What
Like,
is that a question?
I'm
Like,
sure Jada isn't minding at all.
come on now.
I'm sure she's like, let me join. Like, come on,
Boy, you're speculating for sure.
confirmed.
Confirmed.
I would
Fish
join.
Mooney and Harley Quinn.
I would.
I would
what?
hold the camera.
I would be fine with just holding the camera.
Oh god.
All right. Oh Jesus. All
This
right.
has- this
So
has gone
the next
for the worst.
the next
here.
topic.
Yeah.
Oops,
Yeah, so I
my
guess
bad.
we'll round out the show here with talking about a little game coming out this year that was supposed to come out last year actually. It's going to be the final installment in the Arkham Knight series, or the Arkham game series rather. This is Batman Arkham Knight we're talking about here. So what are you guys hopes for the game, I guess?
Hype.
I'm
Pure hype.
I'm really looking forward to it. I'm just gonna buy PS4 just for the game.
Oh, for real?
I mean, like I'll buy it for other things too,
Oh,
but I mean, like the
I
game,
won't.
the game's my main goal here.
Oh Jesus.
Like it's not like I'm gonna have a computer that can play. Like damn, like gaming computers are way too expensive for me
That
to
was like
buy.
the real sad thing for me.
PC
Was,
Master Race, but I
like-
mean, like
yeah.
Yes.
honestly, and I
Right.
say that as someone that doesn't computer game. Well, I mean, me and CJ, we did some DC Universe Online gaming
Back
for a
in the
while.
day.
He was Hawkeye, I was Thor. It was some good stuff. But I mean, like screenshots are online if you want them. But I mean, anyways, honestly, Batman Arkham Knight, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm happy they delayed it to take more time, I guess, to work on it and make it how they wanted it. I'm happy it's rated M. That really shows that this is the last one. They're just really not giving a fuck, and they're just giving it their all and really going all out with it, which I think is totally appropriate. Only thing my only hopes is I hope to keep the Arkham Knight identity a secret until the game comes out. I know it's a hard thing to do, but I really hope they are able to keep it a secret. I know Caboose and Jay will blow their load if they don't.
Well, Caboose will. I don't think Jay will probably be making
He'll
like,
react.
a video about it.
He'll
but
react, but
I
he might
Love you,
lose
Love you,
oxygen
Jay.
from reacting. Yeah, we love you, Jay.
Right.
But yeah, I hope they are able to keep it a secret as long as possible. And also, there's some leaked pictures of the Joker in the game, and that's to be expected. Like Scarecrow hallucination, probably. But like honestly, I hope they go out with a bang, and I hope they stop these freaking pre-order skins.
I'm
'Cause I'm getting pissed off that I like right at this point. If I want every skin I want, which is every skin I want, which is every skin, and I've said that like 3 times in a row to make a point. Like the fact that I don't want it to go to GameStop, then Best Buy, then Circuit City, which isn't around anymore, so Amazon. I mean, like, Just
See, I mean, I'm knocking on wood when I say this, but I
Give
feel
it
like
to me.
I feel like if it hasn't leaked at this point, like who Arkham Knight is, then it won't leak until, you know. Part of me was like, I hope it doesn't leak in general,
Never
but I
say
feel
never.
like as soon as they send some of those review copies out, it's gonna happen.
oh hells yeah.
Yeah.
But there's always going to be mix up. It'll always hit the web early, but I can dream that it won't. But I actually did knock on wood when I say that. I'm such a big fan of like the Arkham series. I know we talked about this a little bit in the live show, so I'll just keep my thoughts pretty brief here. But I mean, I'm still not quite sure like what exactly they delayed for in general. But I mean, I'm always fine with them taking more time to you know, just to get things right. It looks graphically the best in the series. The Batmobile looks really great. I'm excited for it. Like I think there's a lot of negativity maybe after Arkham Origins from some people. But like remember, I want like to those people that are still a little questionable about this game, that are kind of like, oh, it's not going to be that great. Just remember how good Arkham City was. And this one could be even better.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand some of the negativity I'm seeing from some people. I think it's just, you know, I don't know if it's like, oh, it's cool to hate on this stuff, or what, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Remember.
I think it'll be great if they reveal Arkham Knight is actually Black Mask. He got the shaft in Arkham Origins.
Yeah. It was.
I kept pitching the idea that it's going to be like one of the most D-list of D-list Batman villains.
It's Clayface.
You know, it'd be
No.
honestly
Clayface like B-list at least.
it'd be really
Well,
cool
that's
if they pulled like, you know how Teen Titans did Red X and they never revealed it, like ever. That'd be really cool if they did it with Arkham Knight. Like they kind of like left it a mystery. So like when you finish the game, you know, you're like, maybe it is, like it could be Jason Todd, or it could be Hush, or it could be, you know, like
I really hope it is Hush.
that'd be pretty cool. Like to have like a little mystery to it, so to speak. But and speaking of Red X, I'm surprised he's never appeared in comics yet.
I can't shake the bad feeling that
weird.
it's gonna be the Joker somehow.
I mean, like if it's
which would make sense for Rocksteady to do, but like,
no, if it's
goddamn,
the
like
Joker,
get over yourself.
I will have literally on YouTube. There will be a burning ceremony while I burn my copy of Arkham Knight.
Yeah, I don't think they would do that. There's way too much effort put into these stories so far to do something like that.
Like that's the Joker isn't. That's not the Joker.
True.
Like I mean, like the Joker is many things.
Like he's being kept alive by the suit.
But militaristic Batman, that's not something he is. Like I'm sick of people overhyping the Joker just because he's the most notorious Batman villain.
I kind of had like a little theory because of how Talia al Ghul was like she was in Arkham City, right? Was that the one she was in? Yeah, she was in Arkham City. Like I had a little theory that they're gonna like steal from you know, the Batman and Robin storyline where you get the Harbinger, and it's gonna be this clone of Bruce Wayne that's like been advanced aged, and so they're gonna have the same terrifying baby face reveal as soon as you take off the mask. It's like, oh god, like
that was actually a rumor, CJ.
That was like nightmare fuel in the comics.
Yeah.
I was like, oh
Yeah,
Jesus.
definitely.
Honestly, one thing one thing that's gonna make me definitely buy this game is the fact that it's one of the confirmed last. It's not the last, as far as I know, but it's one of the last voice acting jobs for Batman that Kevin Conroy is doing.
Oh man, don't make me cry.
Because in the animation front, they've been slowly phasing him out with the new voice actor, which, you know, kind of makes sense. He's getting older and stuff like that. But I'm sure he's accumulated enough money from Batman stuff to retire. But I mean, like,
he's Batman to me, man.
I mean, like, after this game, they'll be done with the Arkham series, so we won't see him there. The anime movie wise, we won't see him there as Batman anymore. Unless they do like some special, you know, DC animated film. But I mean, like,
unless they do the Killing Joke at some point.
I mean, like, it's just
he's got to be there for that.
For the most part, it's one of those things where, like, I still own my Arkham City copy just because that's like from Mark Hamill. You know what I mean? Like, it has like that value to it just because of that. And in the same way, like, this will definitely have some value to it, like more value than it would, you know, just being any other Batman game, just because not only it's the last Arkham game, but it's...
All right.
Well,
I think Roger Craig Smith could be a serviceable replacement, though. Or...
No one's Kevin Conroy.
Maybe. I mean, one of my biggest complaints with the Arkham series,
as long as you're not Drake Bell,
I guess not really a big complaint, was just that Kevin Conroy, while his Batman voice is really good, I go back and I play the older games. he has a problem with emoting, and it seems like the further he got away from Batman the Animated Series, the harder it became for him to like have sort of emotion in his voice besides just the single sort of gruff Batman.
Yeah.
But judging from what I've seen in Arkham Knight's trailers, he's going all out. Like he's putting his chops to work. Like this dude is like killing it in the trailer so far.
True. I also love it's
The trailer's been pretty cool too.
I don't want to say something stupid, so I'm just gonna ask who's playing Jim Gordon.
I don't
Because
know.
I feel like it's Cranston.
No, I don't think it is.
It's
No.
not Cranston.
I don't think
Looks like
Cranston.
Cranston.
It's hold on. Somebody
Yeah, it
Google
looks
that for
like-
me. Like no, hold on. Stop and Google that. I beg of you. We'll come back to this. Hold on.
Let me see.
But no. So yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on Arkham Knight?
Super hyped. I've had it pre-ordered since I pre-ordered it for the Xbox One like a year and a half ago when it was originally supposed to come out. But I'll probably end up getting it on Steam too, just to have both copies of it. But
And
yeah,
the Dark Knight Returns skin.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Not the Batman Beyond one though.
Yeah,
That one looks
it's
terrible.
Arkham Knight Beyond.
Yeah, the Batman Beyond one looks like they forgot what Batman Beyond looks like. Honestly,
It's just way over designed.
Yeah, I couldn't care less about the skins. If I want to be
James-
completely
Oh,
honest.
it's Jonathan Banks. It's
Jonathan
Jonathan Banks.
will
I was
be,
I had the right series, Breaking Bad, but it's Mike Ehrmantraut. It's not Bryan Cranston.
Yeah,
Sorry
so-
guys.
So sad.
But
So
yeah.
yeah, that was a pretty good show. I guess we kind of got through all the topics here. Yeah, I guess just if you guys want to check back on the DC podcast, we're going to be doing these weekly, I think. from now
Absolutely.
on.
That's the goal.
The
that is
goal
the
is
dream.
weekly.
I
Yeah.
think
Goal, anyway.
we've got enough
Honestly.
people now like working on this. Like we're today like we're missing Cameron and McKinley. And we're missing more than that, aren't we? Or are we missing anyone else?
I think we're definitely
Cameron, McKinley, Ahmed, or
Ahmed.
my
Ahmad,
bad.
Ahmad, sorry.
Ahmad.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Ahmad.
I will
for
make
that.
sure.
Uncultured.
Yes, I'm not just an English speaker, but no, we're missing those guys too. We got a lot of people. I think we've got enough manpower to actually get this thing out weekly, not in typical hybrid network fashion.
I mean,
so-
like, I'm not saying
I'm not promising
there's
anything,
a hybrid
but I'm
army
thinking
now,
about
but
it.
there's a hybrid army now.
Yeah, there is a.
Yeah, so expect a lot more of these to come, covering anything in the DC world, I guess, and just to check back on the Hybrid Network, social media links, Hybrid Network, YT, I believe that's what it is, and
Yep.
Yeah.
Twitter, you can find us at Hybrid Network _, and yeah, SoundCloud. These will be up on SoundCloud first, as far as I know, too.
Yes, this will be up on SoundCloud at least a day in advance. Probably
Yep.
a day in advance.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I guess where can people find you on the internets?
On me, well, I mean, like, you can find me the same place you find Hybrid Network. Like,
Find me on Twitter, Facebook. You can look me up, or just on the channel because I make a lot of videos there. So
Yeah. All right, so I guess that was a pretty good show, guys. Signing off. This is Nick.
this is CJ.
this is Jeff.
And this is Luke.
And we'll be back next week.